All right, and we're officially back. Apologies, I've been lazy. There's been pre-season, heaps of excuses. I haven't been prioritizing this little vlog thing that I've been doing. But other than that, we're just gonna rip in. So, how I kind of usually organize my content or what I kind of want to talk about, I usually just get stuff from Instagram or YouTube or stuff that I'm looking at or other people are doing, and I put my kind of opinion in rather than I guess sometimes if I not like necessarily agree with someone, so rather than kind of like going on their page and rah 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 this, like I'll usually I'll have a little bit of a think about it, a bit of a like, and make a mental note and put my kind of, I guess, spin on it. And I'll actually tweet it, believe it or not, and that way it's all kind of put in one little app, and I just kind of flow through there. I have 0 subscribers, get 0 likes. It doesn't really matter. I just put it all in one little bundle. But so I just went through my last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tweets, and gonna go from there. And yeah, it's more kind of training. So the first one off the bat, but yeah, sorry, we're gonna go over core training is spine training. Performance is actually experience and expression, and learning to handle the ground before you progress into the air with plyometrics, repeatability and how that kind of translates to athleticism, and lumbar extension might be the reason for your thoracic flexion. And yeah, that's all I've got written down. So we're going to go over just core training and spine training. So when people think of core training, they, I guess, think of maybe some isometric holds, so some planks, some side planks, maybe even some crunches. So it's a bit of an old school thing that your core is weak, need to do more core, and you might get that from physios or chiros or even some PTs due to a weakness or a discomfort somewhere. What I tend to notice is that the core might need a little bit of work and needs to be strengthened, but it needs to be a bit more dynamic. So with kind of, I guess, maybe specific to some lower back discomfort or minor lower back discomfort, it might be the inability of the spine to move in a certain way, or rotate or flex or extend or move left and right and just kind of shift. So sometimes I'll introduce planks and side planks just to provide a bit of base strength, but I'm a big fan of kind of repeated med ball throws and kind of getting the med ball to kind of influence the timing and expression of the spinal movement. So maybe a half kneeling wall scoop to kind of get scaps, getting spine to kind of flow through everything, and you kind of start that with maybe a 25 to 50%, then a 50 to 75, and then close to 100. You start really expressing that core rotation, that core power, that core strength. It's to a degree, it's not all about kind of L-sits and crazy hacksaws or stuff like that, but enough to get the spine moving. It's all good to kind of keep some rigidity in the core, but I guess when it comes to running or walking, and you want your core to kind of, I guess, assist you with that kind of stuff, there needs to be some movement. There needs to be some spine movement in there. And you kind of, if anyone follows Edu Portal, he does a lot of that stuff, like spine waves. So like head forward, chest forward, hips forward, and you just kind of roll through here. It may not necessarily be strength or cover much resistance, but that is training the core and that is training the spine. So that's that. Take away what you want from it. Next one is, I guess, a nice little flow on. Performance is experience and expression. and I'm just gonna do a small version of this because this is a big thing that I've been reflecting on for quite a while, particularly with some clients who are doing, I guess, a lot of plyometrics. So whether they're full healthy footy players or any other sports, or they're people with knee, hip, ankle issues. And I guess the expression is power and strength and all these things to do with athleticism, but the experience is what's going to kind of determine their ability of expression. Someone's single leg bound, let's go like a continuous single leg bound, is going to look a lot different to someone else's, depending on their experience, whether that be their practice in the skill, or whether that be they've experienced ankle, knee, or hip pain, and they haven't quite practiced, or their brain hasn't received that information or absorbed that, I guess, stress, and hasn't been able to adapt. So that's the kind of small kind of, I guess, explanation. Performance is experience, but I guess being able to express all these athletic capabilities, there needs to be experience, and that comes from a coordination thing as well. So you can almost think juggling. No one's good at juggling. Well, maybe some. I'm not. Are good at juggling straight off the back, but it's the experience of a visual component, a timing component, and an even feel component. So when the ball hit your hands, you know when to react. So I guess that you could call expressing the catching and throwing, and maybe that's why the ATG guys love doing all that stuff. Maybe it's a cognitive thing, but whatever. I don't really prescribe juggling too much. I think it has its place, but whatever. All right, and then repeatability. So I've got written here, repeatability is such an important aspect of athletic development, particularly when you want to progress the athlete or progress the client. And I've also got written here, it's either, I guess, if the person, let's say it's a single leg bound, and we're going 20 meters down the track or down the field, whatever, and they're unable to do so. It might be because they are too tired, or they are not coordinated enough, or again, they cannot express that coordination, or they cannot express that strength or that repeatability. And if you were to if we were to regress it and do a double foot continuous bound, at some point you want to make it single, but for some reason they're and that's why people use hurdles, I think, is to kind of create that timing, create that repeatability. And this person is so efficient at doing this specific task that they can express this like fluently, and they just flow straight through it, and each rep or each jump is just as powerful as the next, exactly what it needs to be to land and move forward. But if you're kind of landing and falling forward, or rotating, or knees roll in, or heads rolling forward, or things like that, then again, might be too tired or might be uncoordinated, which is definitely two things that you can definitely work on. And then I guess from an athletic point of view, if you're that's one of the things you probably want your athletes to do, particularly when sprinting or running. Everyone's always going to be able to run. People are always going to be able to sprint, but be able to do that in a repeatable fashion when there's fatigue involved as well. So that's just another point. And then last one. Again, this is a kind of big one. So lumbar compression might be the reason for your thoracic flexion. What I kind of mean by that, this might take a little bit of diagram with my hands, but let's say hips are here, so this is the pelvis here. So you kind of got your lumbar or your lower back, and then your thoracic, and then your head through here. So let's say this is all the skeleton, and I've spoken about this before, how the skeleton or muscles are slaves to bones. Wherever the bones are going, then muscles have to follow. They're connected, they have to follow. So if you had a pelvis which is rolled forward, so face here, facing this way, we've got a pelvis that's rolled forward, and this is your lower back through here. All those abs, those ribs are going to flare, all the abs are here, they're open, and this is closed. So when that pelvis rolls forward, bones and all that kind of skeletal tissue, whatever, is falling forward. You're going to put pressure into your forefoot. So let's say everything kind of falling forward. I think I'm doing an okay description of this. But if everything's falling forward, then we need to kind of consider center of mass as well. You're not going to be walking around with your heels elevated, walking like you're in stilettos or something like that. So a pelvis rolls forward, then something's going to give, something's going to pull back, and that's probably going to look like a thoracic extension. So you probably see a lot of people with lower backs that are compressed, might be due to a pelvis that's rolling forward, and they need to shift their center of mass back. So they're going to do that in a spinal reply, if you will. So everything's kind of shifting back, and we shift back a little bit further back towards our midfoot. And that's why, and you might get some people who get in a foam roller, they put it on their back and they go like this, and they extend their spine, and they go, fuck, that feels unreal, and they foam roll and they just extend, and they think this extension position's so good and it feels so good because that just hasn't moved. Like the spine is just not getting that freedom. You're not getting that kind of, I guess, two sides of the coin, that your upper back or your T-spine is getting that flexion and extension, and it's happening all day, and it's happening during your gym program, it's happening during your sport, it's happening during walking and all that kind of stuff. It has these options to move forward and back. And that's one thing that I want to make a little bit more clear, and I'm going to explain that a little bit. And this all has to do with hamstrings as well, and how everything has a little flow-on effect. So I hope this helps, guys. This is just a small little idea. Maybe like I put maybe 2 minutes on each little piece, and I didn't probably go as in depth as I would have liked. But again, I want to make these little videos real short. So I'm probably going to chop them up and then throw them all through Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And if people reply or people have questions, then that'll kind of give me a kick in the ass to kind of, okay, this is what stuff that people want to know, and it's not just what I find interesting, because these videos are to kind of instill value, and what I find interesting might not be what you find interesting, and that's totally fine. But if people have problems, I want to be able to provide perhaps a solution to those things. So that's all I have for you guys. Hope everyone is having an unreal December and clocking off for Chrissy, and have a good new year, and then a big 2023 coming up. Later.